Ashley Vance says on X, I am not allowed to say who said this, but someone with a very, very deep knowledge of AI and modern factories says Tesla has massive edge on bridge between AI and physical world. Ashley Vance is a writer at Bloomberg. Here in this video, we will be going over all of your Tesla stock news today that you need to know, where we sit with Tesla as far as option activity, big money positioning, short interest, and much more. Also, what to watch for on a technical basis, according to this institution that believes Tesla stock could hit 270 in the coming weeks, as long as we can break the 220 level. So let's start with that. This article from Barron says Tesla stock is up, where the charts say it goes next. Tesla stock entered Friday trading up about 7% for the week after shares gained 6.3% on Thursday, helped by retail and jobs data. The stock closed above its 50-day moving average for the first time in a couple of weeks. Breaking through moving averages can be a good sign for traders, making it a good time to check in with technical market analysts. Quote, the downtrending line from the 2021 highs extends down to 220, says Cap Thesis founder and market technician Frank Caparelli. This level represents some resistance for Tesla stock. If shares can get above 220, they could run to about 270, adds Capillary. That would be new resistance should the stock successfully puncture that downtrend line. Caparelli isn't making a fundamental call on Tesla stock. He's looking at charts to get a sense of what investors have bought and sold in the past. If Tesla stock does rally to $270 per share, that's about 25% higher than where Tesla stock is today. And honestly, with the data that we got last week supporting some of this soft landing, no recession conversation as we head into the Fed that's supposed to cut rates for the first time, which should very well benefit Tesla. And let's not forget the robotaxi event on October 10th. What's there not to like until we get bad data? Now, in my opinion, we will get some bad data over the next couple of weeks, and the question is just how bad is it? Does that kind of offset some of the good data that we have seen recently, and what kind of effect would that have on our markets and specifically Tesla stock? But as long as we don't get any bad data or bad news in that sense, heading into October 10th, I could see quite a large rally for Tesla, potentially as high as $270 per share, at least heading into the robotaxi event on October 10th. And as I have said many times before, the thing that really matters about October 10th is, when is Tesla projecting the first robotaxi ride? When does the network start operations? From Tesla's perspective, I don't care if it's a year from now or 2 years from now. Wall Street wants to know that information. We want some kind of clarity. And that's what is going to be the biggest driver of Tesla stock on October 10th. And whether or not we sell that event or buy that event afterwards, it's all going to come down to that guidance. But following the data that we got last week, I'm starting to lean more towards a kind of rally into that event and potentially a sell-off after. But first, Tesla does need to get above $220 per share. I think that is an important level, and that is right where this downtrending trend line is. In fact, if we do break that level and hit 270, that would put you back to the level in which you were at on July 11th after Tesla stock rallied from $138 up to $271. So that would still represent about $54 per share of a potential gain from here. Now, clearly, Tesla can do what Tesla wants to do, and I think if we do get good data that supports an economy that's doing okay over the next couple of weeks, and we're looking at the Fed that's going to cut rates 25 basis points September 18th, I mean, if that soft landing narrative does really start to prevail, I think Tesla can see a lot of capital flow into it. Okay, I don't think 270's the limit here. It just depends how good the economic data is. That's the big key from now, really over the next couple of months. And as long as that economic data comes in good, then Tesla stock could run far past that. Now, we do have some news as well today for Tesla stock, and perhaps we should start here. I think it's pretty incredible. The single Cybertruck in China is overnight a celebrity. I guess Weibo is being flooded by these videos of the Cybertruck. Whenever people see the Cybertruck, they start recording because they've never seen any other vehicle like this. And there's only one. And it's, I would say, its own celebrity right now over in China. As I have talked about in prior videos, the last video if I recall, the Cybertruck could soon enter the Chinese market in larger numbers, and this could have a pretty significant halo effect over in China as well as the US. Now, Tesla's Cybertruck in China is like nothing else, people have ever seen. But it really just puts the Tesla brand on notice, gets more eyeballs on the Tesla brand, and will help sell more Teslas, Model 3s, Model Ys, Model X, Model S's. It's also being reported that Giga Berlin is receiving a green light via the Water Resources Authority in Oder-Spree region, says Tesla's groundwater protection is good and enough. Giga Berlin has 25 monitoring points for monitoring groundwater. Tesla is adhering to its legal requirements very well. Tesla has unveiled a special 10th anniversary design for Hong Kong on its 400th supercharger stall in the city. Unplugged Tesla has unveiled a Cybertruck capable for military use called Sting, with armor. Of course, it can withstand 14.5 millimeter heavy machine rounds, and this vehicle is engineered for both government and civilian use. Imagine that. Goolsbee said yesterday after markets closed, he says, I have concerns that we set this level of interest rates more than a year ago, and inflation and the labor market are cooling faster than expected. I think we should take a step back and think about that. Ashley Vance says on X, I am not allowed to say who said this, but someone with a very, very deep knowledge of AI and modern factories says Tesla has massive edge on bridge between AI and physical world. Ashley Vance is a writer at Bloomberg, and this post has 824,000 views so far. She goes on to say this person thinks the others building humanoid robots don't have a great first customer. Tesla can test on its own factories first before it sends the robots out to customers. The AI builders, meanwhile, don't have factories. She goes on to say that thinks people don't count Musk companies individually as among the big tech empire, but that collectively they have something the other big tech players can't match. Quote, this is from that individual. I think that this will be extremely important when the physical part of AI starts to kick in. Being able to bridge the AI into the physical world will be extremely massive. I think none of the other companies will be able to follow. Says people have a tendency to wave away the complexity of how difficult it is to build the complex factories and warehouses Tesla already has in place. Quote, I am still fairly long Elon empire companies. I've written about Elon's universe of companies for a long time, but had perhaps underestimated what this person was getting at. We have a ton of robotics AI startups now. I don't know. Will remain to be seen how much of an advantage having actual factories is. But this felt like an interesting data point to share from someone who has lived across both worlds at a very high level. She actually goes on to say that this individual is not really pro Elon. He's probably more on the left, which is why she found this commentary so interesting. And probably another reason why she's not allowed to say his name. He's probably someone we all know about. And this is something I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth in the next video, so stay tuned to the channel. That one comes out at 8 p.m. tonight. But I do think Wall Street will start to pay attention to some of the prospects that we just mentioned. Tesla does have a massive edge on real-world AI. I do think the attention will change from semiconductors to real-world applications of AI as we get further into this AI revolution. If it's truly not a bubble, the first stage is the semiconductors. The next stage is the companies that are actually applying real-world AI. And then I guess you could argue the third stage would be what companies are decimated by this AI, right? What change up do we see in the way the economy operates? Because with AI, there will be massive winners and there will be massive losers. While it's far too soon to know who the losers will be, and this could take many years, that's the longer term trajectory of AI. I think we're kind of already at peak GPU enthusiasm, right? Semiconductor enthusiasm. Sure, there can still be gains to be had there, especially in companies that are creating products, maybe clean these data centers or, other specific areas related to that. I do think it's almost now in the relative near-term future, the next couple of months, where investors start to focus on the real-world application of these AI projects. With that said, Tesla's short interest of free float has been falling a lot recently, from almost 4% down to 3.12%. You have $18.57 billion currently sold short in Tesla stock, totaling 86.72 million shares. You have return shares of 920,000 and borrowed shares of 262.66 million on Friday. That means on net, it looks like about 1.74 million shares were actually sold short on Friday. And I think a lot of that did come in towards the high of the day on Tesla that did kind of push the stock down, because at one point you were almost $220 per share. You did get pushed back down to $216 per share. It was still a good day on Friday. Tesla was still up, give or take 1% with the move in after hours, but it wasn't as good as it looked, at least at the start of the day. And I think a lot of that was due to the amount of shares that were sold short. Option activity in Tesla stock on Friday as well from big money totaled 15 different trades, totaling $2.29 million with a positive order value of 35%. If we take a look at Google Trends data, the Cybertruck is continuing to fall a little bit, down to 64. The Model Y and the Model 3 continue to be strong. The Model Y coming in at 26, the Model 3 coming in at 25, the Model S coming in at 10, and the Model X coming in at 8, which is still pretty good numbers for the entire Tesla lineup. And I will remind you, this Google Trends data is only going to capture Google trend data, okay? This is not going to account for some of the trends that we are seeing in China, which last week you've seen the second best weekly insurance registration numbers for this entire year so far. So there's definitely some momentum building in China, and that could be a strong area for Tesla this quarter. Not to take away from the fact that US and potentially Europe markets still look good based on Google Trends data, but China could be up there as well. Over on StockTwits, Tesla has a sentiment score of 58, which is bullish, a little bit lower than yesterday's, which was bullish at 60, but still looks really good. Message volume today is normal at 53. Yesterday, it was high at 57. It's actually pretty good for a Saturday to still be holding up a lot of message volume. That's a pretty good sign. People are excited about Tesla. They're talking about Tesla. And this is really a tool that I like to use to really judge retail investors' sentiment and activity. And that's why I share it with you, because retail is a big chunk of the buying pressure for Tesla stock on a day-by-day or week-by-week basis. Nonetheless, participation ratio is high at 55, which is on the higher side compared to what we've seen recently. Google Trends data for full self-driving today is at 20, which is really where we have been recently. The last couple of weeks, if you will, you've kind of bottomed in these low 20s. That's a lot higher than any other period you have been at for Tesla's FSD, at least to be maintaining these levels, right? In the past, you would spike to maybe 18, 19, fall back to 12, right? Fall to 11, spike to 15, fall to 14. Even before this free trial, you were trending around 14 for full self-driving. So now you're trending higher. That's a good sign for the continued higher take rate of FSD following the free trial that Tesla did. And big shocker here, Tesla continues to run about 4,000 different ads with Google. Global inventory numbers for the Tesla lineup have been growing recently. That's not good. That either suggest bad demand or higher production. I don't think it's bad demand. So you're likely seeing higher production. The Model Y has about 7,200 vehicles in inventory, which is not the highest we've been at. You were almost 10,000 back here in April. But you are climbing pretty consistently. The Model 3 is at the highest inventory numbers you've seen in at least a year, with inventory numbers sitting at about 6,400. The Model X, almost the highest you've been at in a year as well, at about 3,800. And the Model S is almost at its 1-year high at about 2,800 vehicles in inventory. The percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average did actually go up on Friday. So now you're at 56.63% of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average. This is a pretty good sign. You're back to a really normal historical level for markets. You're nowhere near euphoric, right? Not even close. And you're nowhere near kind of extremely fearful or, a market that is in a bad place. On Friday, you had 1.5% of all stocks. This is tens of thousands of stocks listed on our markets that broke above their 50-day moving average. So it was a pretty good day on Friday, even though, big tech really carried the brunt of the weight in markets. You still did have a market that did relatively okay. If you look at the equal weight S&P, I look at the RSP, this was up 0.24%. So you did have some broad-based participation in the upside move that we seen on Friday. Small, but definitely a good sign towards a larger rotation. Because let's all face the fact, as the Fed starts to cut rates, if there is a soft landing, there will be a larger rotation. It's not going to be as aggressive as what you've seen a couple of weeks ago in the Russell, but this slow and steady, multi-week, multi-month kind of outperformance of small caps, of value stocks, of consumer cyclicals, which are often value stocks, that outperform big tech. And that is what is going to happen. I'm really not expecting much from big tech here. But a company like Tesla that benefits from lower rates, that benefits from a consumer that does better, that benefits from the US economy avoiding a recession, that's where you want to be betting on right now. Big tech, I think, is garbage at these prices, at these levels. The companies are fantastic, but you're just pricing in too much good news. And the Fed actually cutting rates is a headwind for those companies because they're going to bring in less interest or less, cash on their cash, right? That's sitting in short-term treasuries. So I think from multiple different kind of perspectives here, the risk to reward is heavily skewed in favor of stocks like Tesla, stocks like consumer cyclicals and value, high-paying quality dividend stocks. These are going to be the areas that outperform if we do see a soft landing. Vice versa, if we don't see a soft landing and there is a recession, these areas are going to likely be harder hit. I think we will come to the realization that big tech is not recession immune, that big tech would be hit just as hard. And well, I think that would happen well into a downturning economy, in which I think it's too premature to really discuss that too much here. But long story short, if you think the economy is going to avoid a recession, it's probably going to pay you very well if you're correct to be long in Tesla. If you think we're going into a recession, then there potentially could be a better buying opportunity on Tesla and pretty much everything else. So let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.